So today we're going to try something really cool. We're going to do a story review, something that you might not have seen. It's going to be about how you can take a story that you would write and turn it into something that is more effective for your business, more strategic, because that's what I'm all about, using stories for strategic purposes to really reinforce, support, and enhance your marketing. It's not something you do as a fairy tale, something just for fun. It's something that really supports your marketing effort. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at a real story today. Look at this story from someone named Alan Zeltzman. Alan works with user experience, UX, which means enhancing the way people experience online products, services, and programs. And he came up with the story, which I think is a really good story. It has a lot of potential. But let's look at first what he wrote, and then we'll look at how we can make it better. Are uninspired customers keeping you up at night because your services and products suck, or your teams are drawing blanks on how to fix it? So he's got some questions here that are really bullets. They're empathy questions, or we might call pull questions, which are very effective. Then he says, I want to tell you a story about John and Jane Doe, who run two companies that create enterprise software for Fortune 500 businesses. That's cool. And then he says that John's company has been using an outdated playbook, and to make matters worse, they're spending time in developing those concepts without validating whether their customers will even like it. And meanwhile, Jane over here is experiencing 100x ROI by establishing co-creative relationships and by putting customers first. And then we have, what's the difference? Well, Jane went through a product innovation boot camp. John's company apparently was using that outdated playbook. So what Jane did was go to this product innovation boot camp, which I believe is something Alan runs, and she had validated her product and tested her prototype, and she knew that people wanted it if she was willing to buy. So then, and he goes on to say, to find more about this, if you want to, you can download whatever it is. So in other words, he's got a call to action at the end, and that's cool. So let's see what we can do to make this a better story. Because first, let's jump right into the story. What Alan did was what is very appropriate in a sales letter, and what is very effective in a sales letter, is to ask pull questions like, are you this? Are you that? And are you want to tell you a story? A lot of introduction. In a sales letter, that can be effective, but generally it's better, even in a sales letter, to jump right in and let's get into the story. This is what we call a two guys story. It's sort of like, on a beautiful spring day, two men graduated from the same college. Both of them went to work for the same company. 25 years later, they attended the same college reunion. But one was the president of the company and one was maybe manager of a small department. What was the difference? And I've got a link here if you want to look up the story. It's a classic format, and it's a very effective format. In fact, when in doubt, if you're stuck on a story to tell, this is a good one to go to. It's one of my own go-to stories, and I've written several different versions of that myself. So let's see how Alan can make this into a more effective two-guys story. Well, he could start the same way. In the lovely city of San Francisco, two entrepreneurs decided to start software companies. And I made up the name. It doesn't really matter what city it's in, because that's not going to make any difference to your prospects. What you want to do is pick a city that they can relate to. If they're entrepreneurs and they're thinking Silicon Valley, then say in the lovely city of Palo Alto. Or if they're on the East Coast, or if you might want to say in the lovely city of Boston, or pick any place. But it's a good idea to give some kind of background. You could even say in two different co-working spaces in two different cities. So both had engineering degrees from top universities. Both hired expert software designers to develop their apps. Now, I'm just making this up, but we could flesh this out a little to emphasize their similarity. Then you want to name your characters if you want to. You don't have to name characters. And I don't believe they did in the Wall Street Journal story at all. But if you name characters in any story, use realistic names. So not Jack and Jill, but maybe Jack and Maybelle, or Kevin and Jill. You want to have them be differentiated so that people don't get confused when we say Kevin and Kate or Jack and Jill. You want to be very clear on how different they are if you are going to give them names. And you don't have to make one male and one female. If you're working with an audience that is mostly women, you could have two women. And generally, it gets interesting whether you allow the good person, the person who won, to be female or male or any distinguishing characteristic. Generally, people are more forgiving if you allow the woman to come out ahead. It's a bit old-fashioned, but I think it's still true. So then after you've introduced the characters, you give away the punchline. You don't wait till the end and don't put in a lot of detail about how they got there. So Mike's company works with a 10-year-old playbook based on intuition, hopes, and dreams. And Jeanette attended the latest product innovation boot camp. She learned state-of-the-art techniques so her products met her customers' needs and how to calculate the ROI from design innovation. So we've got a very simple way of saying, here's how they're different. And we come right to the point. Mike got these results from a 10-year-old playbook. That's why they're not very good results. And Jeanette, and notice we've changed the name, the number of syllables, we've distinguished them. Jeanette found a way to learn how to do this right. And then you can add a CTA, a call to action. Learn more about how you can avoid John's problem and enjoy earnings like Jane's, or in this case, learn more about how you can avoid Mike's problem and enjoy earnings like Jeanette's at. And you tell where it is. But you can do that after you've told the story. So notice the power of the story. There's no need to say, are you tired of staying up late to design products that nobody wants to buy? Because you've already explained that in your own words. You've had Mike struggling to design products. You could actually add a little more. He was spending hours and hours on design concepts and nothing sold. Whereas Jeanette was very efficient, got things done, got her prototype out there, and people wanted it. So there's no need for a long list of bullet points or poll questions. Your story takes care of all that. Your story gets things across very quickly, and you've made the point. So your story really replaces a lot of copy. And remember, it replaces the copy. You don't have to surround it with a lot of copy. Don't be afraid to wipe out whole paragraphs after you told your story. So thanks to Alan Zelsman, the user experience consultant, for sharing his story. This is his LinkedIn link. And if you'd like me to review your story or talk more about any aspect of storytelling or marketing, you can go to my website, get a 90-minute risk-free consultation. I have a free download for you, 17 surprising ways to use stories to grow your business. So I look forward to seeing you on a future video. Thanks for joining me today.